Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the John C. Scott Political Forum, now in our 31st year of broadcast. Wow, that's a long time. A lot of things happening in our town. There's a three-way race for the Democratic primary for mayor of Tucson. That's becoming very heated. A lot of things happening in that race, but the winner of that particular primary will face off against the independent candidate for mayor, Ed Ackerley, who is obviously a, media star, as well as a media mogul and owner of his own advertising agency, which is one of the best in the country. And he joins me now. Ed, welcome to the show. I'm glad you could join us. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I was listening to your spirited conversation.
Thank you. Well, it was spirited. Let me ask you this. If you were mayor of Tucson tomorrow, what would you say to the people of Tucson of how prepared this city is to face a situation that we would never want to face, which occurred in El Paso, Texas? How safe could you tell us you are going to make us as mayor or help make us as mayor in light of what we know to be a situation that could happen here, anywhere in America, closer to the border, more likely, as what we've seen in El Paso? What would you do? What would you say to people who ask you, how safe am I?
Well, I think the first thing we need to understand is that by city charter, the mayor of the city of Tucson is in charge in a natural disaster or in a man-made disaster, such as what we've talked about. The charter is specific that says that the mayor is the chief executive in charge of the response to any such calamity that would happen on Tucson soil. And so it's very important then that the person that is elected mayor has the capacity and the capability to lead that multi-directional force that would respond to such a calamity. So I think that's important to say up front that the mayor's responsibility by charter includes that very important distinction. Secondly, I would say that in 2012, the city of Tucson did respond to some other issues leading up to that and came up with an emergency management plan, which involves obviously police and fire and interjurisdictional agreements with other forms of whether that be a non-government organization or whether it be for natural disasters, that would include Red Cross and organizations like that. So the plan is pretty robust. It's spelled out pretty well. In 2014, it was updated. It's reviewed every 5 years. So in 2017, there was a review of it. And I'm down at the city council meeting right now, just outside, and they are obviously updating the council right now. The city staff is in this afternoon session about what the preparedness is of the city. And I'm pretty confident that the plan is very good, and I think we're pretty solid. So I would answer your question by saying the mayor is an important part of the process, and I think the city is very well prepared for a disaster.
There's an irony there because on 9/11, the police department of the city of Tucson scurried off the mayor, Bob Walkup, to the Arizona Inn. I guess for his own safety. I'm trying to think how much more safe he was than I was 5 blocks away from the Arizona Inn where I live. So I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea. But I do know that I've always been frightened that because of the rail service that goes right through the very heart of Tucson, and with rail service carrying bombs and all kinds of missiles and all kinds of deadly weapons, that we were just a breath away from a horrible tragedy if one of these particular cars derailed, as they did near Benson, Arizona, filled with armament at one time. Had that derailment occurred in the very heart of the city, which it could have, because the bombs go right through here, how well prepared are we? I think, I know you've reviewed this as well. We've spent 10 years, and I remember talking with Clarence Dupnick, the sheriff at the time, how long is it going to take to coordinate the communication systems with everybody else, whether it's Marana to Tucson to paramedics to the hospitals to anything else, in case there were a terrible tragedy in this town. And we got pretty far along with the coordination and synchronization of our communication system. That would certainly be necessary in light of a terrible tragedy such as I've just alluded to. Do you know how well that is now? I mean, are we close to having that finally put together, or do you know?
Well, I did take a tour of the 911 center for the city of Tucson, and of course, there is a little bit of duplication of effort because over at Randolph Park, next to the Reed Park Zoo, there is that facility that was constructed and does contain the 911 center for the county. And then, of course, the city 911 center is located out at Park in Irvington. And there is a little bit of duplication of effort because there are two different systems that are talking to one another, but there is a handoff situation when someone calls 911 and it's in the county, then it goes to one facility, and if it's coming in from the city, it goes to the city. There has been some discussion, obviously, about combining those two things, but the silver lining in that is that there is duplication, and in case one of the systems goes down, there's always a backup system, and they can flip the calls all over to the one system or the other. So the answer is a little bit of both, maybe, that there needs to be a little bit more coordination that seems to be progressing in a positive way. I think the answer that I keep talking about is the 311 system, which is the non-emergency system, which is tied into the 911 system, that would help free up the 911 folks to do their job, which is, disasters and life-saving stuff, and let the 311 system handle the things that are just day-to-day operations that people are calling in about. So I'm answering your question by saying, yes, there is some duplication of the communication efforts, but in some ways that's good, and in some ways it needs a little bit more tightening up. I bet you of the four of you running for mayor are the only one that did that. Go to the emergency system and take a look at it and actually take the kind of responsibility that it takes to find out what the city's all about and how it works. That's why I have interviewed you so many times. You care enough about this job you're running for to find out what this job is. And I applaud you for that. Thank you for doing that. We need more people who know what the hell they're running for as they run for it. So that's thank you. I'm down at the council meeting, and I sit here at the council meetings and I see who is present and who's not present, and it does puzzle me that those of us that are applying for leadership positions, we got to need to know what the job is, and we got to need to know what the procedures are and what takes place in front of the council. So I've been here every single meeting since I declared, save one where I was out of town, where I sent my quote-unquote chief of staff down to represent me. But I do think it's important that a person who's applying for a mayor's job be very well educated as to what the job is and what they are supposed to be doing and what they can do.
Here's a subject we didn't talk about. I've never asked you about a subject you didn't have some information about and had some authority to talk about because of your exploration of the responsibilities of those who deal with what I've asked you about. And I have not asked you about the golf courses, whether we have too many, too little, and some idea as to whether we're wasting thousands and thousands of dollars on golf courses that aren't played enough to even pay their own way. Is there an opportunity, or should there be, for the City Council of the City of Tucson to take a review of these recreational golf courses and find out which ones work and which don't, and which are important to literally the whole purpose of golf in southern Arizona, and those that just might not be able to be a part of it because people don't play them?
Right. I think the dynamics are changing in the golf industry. Obviously, in my firm, over the last 20 years, we've helped a lot of hotels and golf courses with their marketing and advertising, and the whole bottom fell out of the golf industry in 2008 when the economy went to heck, and it's been a tough go for golf courses since then. And municipal courses are even in a worse spot because of the amount of money it takes to maintain a golf facility. Compounding the issue is millennials and the younger folks are not playing golf like perhaps 2 or 3 generations before them played, and they're not joiners. They're not buying memberships at major country clubs and trying to play golf 5 times a week, every day for 5 days, and then take the weekend and go on a trip or something like that. It's just a different mindset. So, I do believe that the city needs to take a look at that. And one of the initiatives that was discussed at the council meeting this afternoon was green space, and how when we make new developments, maybe we don't need a park, but maybe we need some natural green space and possibly a place that would collect water and those types of basins. And these golf courses that are situated in 5 different places around the city are, I think they need to be up for review. And we have OB Sports that's managing them, and they're, losing $1.7 million a year overall. And it's just it is a problem, and I think that the City Parks and Recreation realizes it's a problem. We're spending a lot of money on maintaining golf courses that people are not necessarily playing like they once did, and I think we do need to take a look at it, and maybe we could turn them into multi-use. So courses like Randolph and such, there's two courses there. Maybe one of them it gets into a multi-use situation, and then we save half of it for golf course and half of it for something else.
Well, that's one of the reasons I talk with you. I mean, I've never asked you a question that you didn't seemingly have some history of trying to at least find the answer to the question before I ask it, or expect it, because you would think that the press in Tucson would want to know, how qualified am I to be mayor of this town? How qualified am I? What do I know about Tucson, Arizona? What do I know about the city manager's responsibility? What do I know about the economic development portion, transportation, police, fire? And again, I think you're approaching the final department head to interview, and then you've hit them all. Is that right?
Yeah, that is true. I will be meeting with Mr. Elias, who is the assistant city manager overseeing the housing situation. Once I get that one checked off my list, I will have met with everyone. And I have a really good idea of, at least from a macro level, what these departments do and what these department heads need. And ironically, it's not money, although they all could use that type of resource. It's not money that they're looking for. They're looking for leadership, and they want to have the autonomy to do the things that they need to do to make their departments better. So I think the manager is providing that leadership and is doing a really good job of managing his team. So I'm looking forward to the housing one, because that's the one, if I had of the list of things I don't know as much about, it's all the federal regulations that go into Section 8 housing and all the stuff that the people in the housing department need to know about, that I got to go to school on that, and that's going to be one of the things I do.
I'll put it on the final for you, okay? My final test for you. Ed, good to talk with you. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for being on the radio show.
We should talk next time about vaping and the Tobacco 21, because the council and the supervisors went through an interesting exercise today.
Well, sure. How would you vote on that?
Well, I would probably. This jury is out. The county punted on it today. They 3-2 to table it and put it on an agenda for September. And, basically the city council did that today. They punted on the issue and to give the county time to come together, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a city ordinance on tobacco and then someone can walk across the line into the county and have a different ordinance. So it needs to be a comprehensive plan. So I would vote for a comprehensive plan, whether it be Tobacco 21, but it just needs to come together as a region as opposed to city. I'll
tell you one thing, these convenience stores got to be lobbying against that, because the tobacco sales at these convenience stores is literally about 40, and I'm not making this up, about 40% of their sales. It's just astounding.
Correct.
The amount of it. It's just, I don't care how high you price them or how much you tax them, there's still a huge portion of every convenience store's sales. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
You bet. Ed Ackerley, independent candidate for mayor. We're so fortunate to have these people that are so well qualified to run for this job. I want to thank Patricia Mesh, who grabbed the clip out of the hands of Jared Loughner, who killed those people and attacked the Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, January 8th, 2011. Patricia, you're a great heroine. We love you, and your battle to try to save lives in America is just so honorable. Jimmy Zuma, our Washington, D.C. correspondent, was with us. Matt Klink, GOP consultant, former United States Senator Dennis DeConcini, Charles Heller, gun rights advocate, on our show. Ed Ackerley, independent candidate for mayor. Coming up next, Steve Rivera, the best local sports show in America. I'm John C. Scott. Thanks for listening. This portion of our show brought to you by Perfection Auto Works, 1046 North Beverly.